Good evening and welcome to the Monday, April 8th, 2024 regular City Council meeting. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, the first item of business is the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda, Administrator Crafty?
There are not, but I would like to make a couple of changes, two changes to the minutes if I may.
Thank you. With that, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
So, motion and second. All in favor of the motion and second signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Minutes were distributed in the board packet. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
If I could,
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Mayor Pro
there's
Tem,
corrections.
I do have two corrections, one of which is included in the packet, and it introduces those voting again rather than against. And so I'd like to make that modification. And then at the start, under those present, Finance Director Sally Vogel was not present here. As you may recall, she was on vacation, and she was certainly here in spirit. I'm sure of that, but those are the only two changes that I have, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
I also have a change.
Oh.
My last name is spelled wrong.
Throughout, Josh? Did I miss it throughout?
At least in the second paragraph, it's EI, not IE.
All right, we'll make sure that that change occurs. Thanks for pointing that out, and I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
With those changes as noted, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved as amended.
Is there a second? Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is we do have a public hearing tonight for the waste facility plan for the wastewater treatment plant. Rules for public hearings are listed in the board packet. We will have a brief presentation from the staff present, and then there will be time for public comment after the presentation. With that, I would like to call the public hearing to order at 7:08 p.m. Pete, please proceed.
Tim and City Council. Tonight with me is Curtis Thompson, our Water Resources Superintendent. And he's going to correct me when I make some mistakes here, so bear with us. As you're aware, during the last year, we have completed a facility plan for improvements with the wastewater treatment facility. This is very common. Usually over a 20-year window, we do a planning process. The overall goal of this facility plan would be to identify areas where we need to improve our wastewater operations, have the council review some of the alternatives and the facility plan, which you guys have already done. And once we have the public hearing, we will submit that information to PFA and MPCA, and they will then allow us to be eligible for revolving loan fund money and grants as we see fit based on our income and our rates that we're currently paying. So with that, what I'll do is just start going through the highlights of the facility plan and talk about a few of the alternatives. If you can go back to that first slide, Todd, one of the things I wanted to point out is when we started this construction project in 2002 and 2003, we made improvements to our existing lift station down by the Dairy Queen. It's that bottom blue box down there. It's across the street from the Dairy Queen on Union Street. We also did force main and discharge piping work that was along Highway 169. And then we built a new facility up on St. Julian Street. Total cost of the project as we bid it out at that time was $16 million. And so that was in 2002 and 2003 money. And we did have some grant funds at that time based on our average income for the community of St. Peter. The overall facility itself has a variety of different treatment processes involved with that. We collect all of our wastewater at our main lift station, and then we pump it through a large force main, pressurized force main, to the plant, where we do preliminary treatment. That is a bar screen and a regular screen. So our bar screen is what we, that you guys saw that had the rake on it that removes solids. Our backup screen is a drum screen. It's a rotating drum that dries or cuts up all of the debris and fecal waste that go through there. And then that is put into an auger. We compact that and then landfill that material. From there, we go into grit separation and chemical mixing. That was back in the pretreatment room. Then we go through clarification, which is the primary treatment portion of our facility. And then secondary treatment, which is our BAF units, biologically aerated filters. And then we go through ultraviolet disinfection is our final stage. And you may remember that a few years back in 2018, as part of our Amoresco project, we updated the ultraviolet disinfection as we were starting to see age and wear on that portion. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about timelines in each area and dollars that we're looking for. And we're also going to talk about biosolids alternatives and analysis of a couple of different systems there. We're going to talk about capital costs and phasing of this project, talk about user rates, and then overall a schedule to complete some of this work. The background, we kind of talked a little bit about this, but it was a 20-year planning period. It has got a little bit in the hard areas of this wastewater plant. You're starting to see a little bit of deterioration in the quality of the piping and the materials. As you remember, it's 20 years old, and so it is showing a little bit of wear. And we also anticipate a new discharge limit coming down the pike during the next few cycles that we have with the MPCA. And as you remember, we talked about 5-year cycles for permitting. This permit will expire in 2026, and then we expect a new permit in sometime in either late 26 or early 27. At that time, we anticipate that we're going to have a nitrogen standard that we're going to have to meet. Beyond that, there'll be a phasing in period, whether it's 5 or 10 years. We do not know at this time, but we're going to talk about those improvements, and as we go along in our planning process, we'll be able to compare what other communities our size are going through that may have permits that expire, so we can bring that information back to you guys and prepare you for that type of construction. The existing facilities is we're going to design for another 20-year cycle. We anticipate going through 2045. Because of the age in infrastructure, not only at the wastewater plant, but in our collection system. We're going to talk about some different equipment and processes. And then, of course, we're going to highlight the biosolids or the sludge processing. That's going to be the highest priority because of the imminent failures that we're having right now with our lime pasteurization vessel. Starting out at the main lift station down there, we have, like I said, the 6 areas that we have to worry about. We have the main lift. The main lift is in fair condition. Upgrades are needed, and they're in the 5 to 10 year range from right now. So basically, the start of that second MPCA permit is where we see some of this coming into. One of the things we're going to look at there is we're going to look at motor pumping and motor changes on our VFDs. We have a little better handle now on our flow capacities and issues that we see down there, so we're going to ask the PCA to do a little bit of different design on that. And what I mean by that is right now at that lift station, there's 3 pumps that can pump about 4,000 gallons per minute to the plant. That's currently enough to handle all our emergency needs, but we want to downsize a little bit on one of our pumps, so when we have flows at night, we can keep our plant operating in a little better efficiency mode. Because right now, at times in the middle of the night, the flow goes down so low that sometimes water isn't always pumped to the wastewater plant. And what we want to do is keep a steady stream in there. We have a large wet well at the lift station, and so we built that in for capacity, but we'd like to gain some efficiencies. Operational costs are one of the biggest things that we'll be evaluating during this time, and so we want to make sure we can operate in an efficient manner. Preliminary treatment, again, poor condition, corrosive environment. You guys saw that firsthand last week when you guys were there. It's a very difficult situation for that system to work in, but it has to be effective for us to be able to keep treating wastewater to the degree that we are doing right now. So we are seeing some issues in that area. There's a lot of grit and sand that goes through those pumping channels there, and so what we want to make sure that we do is make sure we can take out all of that stuff ahead of schedule or ahead of the plant operation, so we can again maximize not only our chemical feed, but how our clarifiers work with different chemicals. Then we have primary clarifiers, you know, where we have chemical mixing right ahead of our clarifiers. Then what we have is they really are settling basins, and we use those, and you saw the big chains that drive the sludge and the biosolids off the bottom of the settled water. And then we have biologically aerated filters, BAFs, we call them. They're in good to fair condition. We are still getting optimum treatment from those facilities now, but what we would do in the future with this, that again is in the 5 to 10 year range. We would probably do what they call an autopsy on some of the filters to see how the media is reacting. So we'll take some nozzles out, we'll drain those filters, take those nozzle decks out, pull some media out of those nozzle decks, and then evaluate them for efficiency. So there is a way to regenerate a lot of the styrene beads that are in there. It's a chemical addition that brings them back to full size. If they're seeing some kind of shrinkage, that would reduce the effectiveness. It's all about surface area. And then we go to UV disinfection, and that's an excellent condition. We don't see any needs there 10 plus years down the road. We anticipate we'll be good for 15 plus years on that. Again, probably looking at a couple cycles since it was new in 2018. Biosolids improvement, again, that's kind of our Achilles heel right now. It's in poor condition. So the way our system is designed, if any one of the processes fail, then we have trouble in biosolids. And so in the past, as you know, we have had excellent luck with our drying process on the filter presses. However, they are aging and they are expensive to replace the presses, the screens that go through there. Where we're seeing a little bit of trouble right now is in our lime feed and our lime pasteurization vessel. And so Curtis and I will be doing some evaluation on that related to working with RDP and Bolton and Mink to see if there's some way we can carry this system another 3 to 5 years by doing some changes to our pasteurization vessel. If that's a possibility, you could see this group together more and a larger improvement. If we don't, we'll have to move ahead with biosolids, which was scheduled to be our first phase anyway. We still have the goal of meeting a Class A biosolid. So lime pasteurization is one of the best treatments for that. However, we are considering alternates to that process related to getting it to the Class A scenario. The upgrade is immediate in that area in the next 0 to 1 years, which means by the time we're doing this next year or talking at this time, we should have a construction project going, or we're probably going to be hauling biosolids to some other community to help us treat that. A little bit more on the liquid treatment alternatives. And so really this is talking about the clarifier process or getting the liquid as clean as we can before it goes into the biosteer process. This is a priority for us. This is where you see if we don't have proper treatment up front, you have additional chemical costs. And we have noticed that in the last couple of years because of some of our screen failures and mixing. Whenever the mixing isn't right in our wastewater plant, chemical dosage has to be increased to get the amount of BOD and TSS to be handled down. Amount of phosphorus that's in the water is usually on the solid, so we got to get that to settle to the bottom so we can scrape it. And then we're also talking here as phased improvement. The one thing about your wastewater plant that you are very fortunate on is we did quite a bit of redundancy in the evaluation process when we built this plant. And so it is possible to take one of your clarifiers out, completely rebuild it, take the water from the other clarifier, isolate that, and send it through the new one when we get it done, and then do the other clarifier without missing a beat. And so the process in our construction allows for that. The other process would be, again, the BioSteer. We're really happy with the flexibility that the BioSteer process has given us. We have treated up to 7 million gallons a day without missing a beat and still retaining our limits within our wastewater discharge permit. Biosolids treatment and alternatives, there's a couple of alternatives that we're going to begin evaluating here once we get an engineering proposal to go forward on. And really, we kind of have it narrowed down just on what's really working well in Minnesota and the type of treatment process we have. As you remember, we're an aerobic process, and so we need something that'll work well with aerobic wastewater, not anaerobic. Anaerobic doesn't really have oxygen in it, and so what you see then is you have more methane gas produced in a variety of different treatment processes. Some of those we couldn't use in this process, and so we looked for something that we could use with our individual process. And so the main thing would be is once we can figure out which way we want to dewater, and there's a variety of different areas that we can look to improve, and that would include belt presses, screw presses, or rotary presses. All can be very effective. Then the treatment options are replace the existing lime pasteurization process with a new one, or design a new biosolids heat drying system. And as you remember from some of our discussion, PFAS has been brought up on the state level, not only at the League of Minnesota Cities as a trending issue to deal with, but only one of those options gives us that treatment process, and that's heat drying. And so we'll have to look at that and evaluate the cost to see what's the best fit for us in the future. We currently do not have PFAS in our drinking water or our wastewater right now. And so we're not like a lot of communities. They're faced with immediate treatment and disposal properties. We're in pretty decent shape. And then, of course, the treatment with the dryer, it puts it into a position where, one, we could sell it back to the public, we could give it back to the public, or your hauling costs would be reduced about 80% because only 1/5 of what your existing solids volume is would be reduced because of the drying and the form. So it's a lot less labor intensive from that point as far as hauling is concerned. We don't have a huge hauling issue because we haul everything in about 1 day to maybe a day and a half in the spring and in the summer. So 3 days total just to haul. And then we do disposal on agricultural land where we have permission from farmers to dispose of biosolids. Some of the biosolids alternatives, we'll get into a little bit of the cost here. Again, an alternative one, lime pasteurization. You can see the cost anywhere from $9.2 to $11 million. If the PCA gives us proper direction and says you are not going to have a nitrogen limit for the next 20 years, we will probably be looking at that option. If they come back to us and tell us that we are going to have a nitrogen limit, I got a little ahead of myself there, sorry, we would be looking at the heat drying. Where the nitrogen limit comes in mostly is on the final stage. We would have between tertiary treatment between the secondary process and UV, and that would include the addition of a building. The building and parts and materials is about $15 million. That is not in the initial cost when we're talking the 25 to 35 overall. So that's a big impact on our rates, a big impact on how we finance what's going on. So if you look at the improvements at the bottom of 10 there, the main lift improvements is about $1 million. The preliminary treatment is about 2.2. Rapid mix and flocculators are about 1 million. Primary clarifier is about 1 million. Building rehab, just updating our HVAC, and internal equipment is about 1.1. Secondary treatment, alternate one, would be the biosolids. The rehab of existing BAF is about 3 million, and then biosolids using the heat dry is about 20 million. So you can see there, you'd be in around that $30 million range going forward. So then if we do add the nitrogen limit to our focus and we have to add the additional building, that would be roughly $15 million in extra cost, and that's explained on slide 11 there. Timeline could be between 5 and 15 years, and so our engineer has directed us that PCA is now sending out notices that's going to be a standard. So the idea behind what we're doing right now is that our discharge is concentrated at about 23 milligrams per liter of nitrogen. The proposed discharge limit is about 10 milligrams. And so there's processes that we talked about there. One includes adding carbon as a process, and then it would be post-anoxic denitrification, which adds the carbon. Chemical feed, HVAC, piping, weirs, and gates, estimated cost $15 million. How does this fit in with our customers? And so we have about 62 connections. Okay, existing medium income is about 67,255. Now that's up slightly from when you looked at the initial plan. New data came out, and Chris Swanson, our engineer, updated that. The median household income per month, the 1.4%, which is allowed for wastewater utilities, is about, it says that the average customer can afford a $78.46 wastewater bill. And that would be our base charge plus our charge for 4,000 gallons of wastewater treatment. Our current user rate for 4,000 gallons is about 60, so you can see that over that next 20-year window, you got about a $18 increase in overall wastewater treatment. Total capital costs, again, this is at the 30 million and not at the 45 million. Cost per year at 2% would be $1,834,700. Total cost per month that we would be looking at for loans for this would be $152,891. And of course, when we get with Bolton and Mink, we will also get with Sally from finance and work through some of this to see how that all fits into our portfolio for capital improvements. And we'll be working with PFA to look for grants and with the MPCA to add any additional comments or questions that they have. And that is our presentation.
Are there any questions from the council before we open up the public comment? Brett?
You say we're adequately sized for the next 20 years, so just what's the projected population that it's adequately
We have that. I do not know that off the top of my head. That was in the report, but I don't remember it unless you do, Curtis.
I don't remember off the top of my head either.
I'll look. I have the book here,
Great.
Brad,
Thank
and
you.
let you know what it is.
Just curious, like in case we suddenly have a big population surge, whether that would
Right.
impact things, so.
Carrie?
So as we're going through this, and first of all, I just really appreciate the tour of the wastewater treatment plant. That was so helpful in understanding how the process starts to ends, and where those areas are most needed based on the most corrosive parts of the process. And it's why this equipment needs repair, needs replacement. You know, when I heard your presentation, when you're discussing the sort of alternate options, it seems to me that it's really driven by regulations, and less so about our funding sources or even like council decision. Would you say that that's true?
Yeah.
So,
I would say they set regulation and then they help you get there.
yes, so that's kind of what I'm setting myself up for, and how we talk
Yep.
to the community about if go with alternative 2, the heat drying process, that is based on, you know, regulations pointing us in that direction. And you, during the tour, you said that another community has this process, or
Yes.
maybe there's a few in Minnesota.
Yeah, there's a couple in Minnesota. Is New Prague one of those?
New Prague and Shakopee Sioux, Mystic Lake.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you.
Yep.
It's helpful.
Any additional questions from council? Thank you. With that, I would call for if there's any public comments on the wastewater facility plan. Anybody in the audience who would like to make a comment or have any questions on the information that was presented? Going once, twice. I don't see any public comments. Thank you. we need to close the public hearing now? At this time, I would close the public hearing at 7:30 PM. Going back to our agenda. Next item on the agenda is time for visitors to present to the city council. There's two visitor comment periods. The first one is for if there's anybody here who would like to make a comment or any comment on anything that is currently on the agenda, any agenda item. Anybody? Seeing none. Now we have time for general visitor comments. This is just general comments for items that are not on the agenda. If there are any comments, please come forward. Have a seat. Please introduce yourself, name, address, and you have 6 minutes to talk. So, welcome.
My name is Rebecca Honorness.
Rebecca, if I could ask you to wait until you're by the microphone so people who might watch it can hear you as well.
You hand it out first so you go back.
Yeah, that'll be just fine. And we can pass them out for you too if you'd like. That might be easier than stepping across all the wires. Thank you.
Does our city attorney want this picture?
It's up to you if you want to provide. That's just
I
fine.
got one. You can share it with the mayor when she comes back. Thank you, Gerald. Thank you. Sharing the meeting this evening. I'm not sure who you are. This is Keisha. Keisha? Okay. All right. So I'm supposed to talk into this, huh?
And name and address, and then please give us your comments.
Okay, is that good? Okay. My name is Rebecca Otterness. I'm a citizen of St. Peter and a homeowner at 1643 South 4th Street. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and I thank all of you who responded to my emails. I'm here this evening to speak against the proposed sidewalks along the west side of 7th Street between Jefferson and South Elementary, and the sidewalk along the south side of Jefferson between Valley View Road and 7th Street. You have all received emails from Pat Splittgerber, from Adam Velasco, and from me detailing our opposition because of our concern for the safety of the children. Judy and Bob Douglas from the neighborhood also, I believe, have sent an email to Todd Prafke indicating their concern. School board members with whom I have spoken have said the school board did not request these sidewalks, and some of them are really appalled that we would even think about putting a sidewalk on the west side of 7th Street. I happened to be near the school in the midweek just before Easter, and that's what I have for you. It was just as school was preparing to let out for the day. These are pictures of the traffic that happens at the time that school is getting out. The first one, the top one, is just all the cars that are there, and you can see a car that's also driving on the street. And as you note, there are no children on the sidewalk on the other side of the street, which is what we consider to be a safe sidewalk. The second picture shows that there is a UPS truck coming down. I mean, this was a random day. They didn't do this for me. UPS truck coming down to the intersection of Valley View Road and 7th Street. And the third picture shows the cars are lined up all the way back to 7th Street and even up around on Jefferson. Many of you maybe have children that you've already been there as parents. You've been there in that lineup a lot. My son lives at the far end of Nicollet Meadows subdivision. He has pointed out that no matter where he wants to walk, anywhere in town from up there, if he goes towards the college or downtown, he will have to cross Jefferson. There is a crosswalk near the college arboretum with a flashing light for traffic control available 24 hours a day for safe crossing of Jefferson. When Mrs. Splittgerber suggested that it was more necessary to have a sidewalk approaching the school from the south, she was told there already is one. I think that sidewalk starts at Washington and runs west and then goes to the south of the school, past the Dollars for Scholars building and way up by the ball fields towards West Mink, which goes into that Nicollet Meadows area. This is all south of the school. The north leg of West Mink, I've driven it with my car, is that's the main entry into Nicollet Meadows. It's a quarter of a mile south of Jefferson. As I said in my letter, people do not walk a quarter mile north to get to a school that is south of them. I have spent several random days observing the after-school pedestrian traffic. Some days, no one is walking on the current sidewalk. Other days, there have been a maximum, in my random observations, of 3 kids, all accompanied by adults. 2 of them cross Jefferson with the crossing guard, and then they go down the hill onto Washington and go north. So they don't need to go up Jefferson Hill, and they don't need to be on the west side of 7th Street. The 3rd child crosses Jefferson and goes to the second house on 7th Street on the east side of the street, walking on the grass this year because we didn't have snow. So that's so I don't know exactly where I'm at for time, but since I know my time is limited, I'm going to just ask you a few questions to think about. Would having an extra sidewalk on 7th or Jefferson change your practice of dropping off your children? Would you have those 5- and 6-year-olds walk instead? How many of those children would be on the bus if their parents were not picking them up? Is it safe for a 5- or 6-year-old to bike down Jefferson Hill? Would it not be better to spend public money to put sidewalks where there are none, rather than put in a second sidewalk where there is already one in place that is never overcrowded? I thank you very much for listening to me. I hope that you will consider these concerns, and I'm willing to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Brett?
No question. Rebecca, we talked on the phone
Yes.
a month or so ago, and so I thank you for reaching out. I didn't respond to the email, but
Yeah.
I have raised it with the mayor about putting it on as a workshop topic to discuss.
So thank you, and I did have a conversation with the lady at the Department of Transportation who provides the funding, and she said that it's fine to take those out, but it's certainly up to the city, council to make that decision. But I really appreciate that you're willing to listen to me, and I'm representing all the property owners who are from out of town or in assisted living, not able to be here or at work. So pretend you see 5 other people here.
One clarification. Your mother owns the property at the corner of 7th
My
and
mother
Jefferson,
owns the
correct?
property.
That's so you're representing her, so.
And I'm representing her as well. Yep.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you for your presentation, Rebecca.
Did I do okay? Thank you.
Okay, with that, moving on, the next item is the approval of the consent agenda items. Administrator Brafke.
Mayor, members, the consent agenda items are included in your packet. The following purchases would be a Dodge, from Dodge to Burnsville, a pickup for the fire department. That's paid for by the general fund for $48,000, just about $600. Motorola Solutions for 7 radios for the fire department, again through the general fund, for $24,641 and some change. McQueen for equipment for the new aerial truck that you purchased from the city of Hastings. That's $22,704.40. Again, general fund through fire department budget. Licenses, temporary on-sale liquor license for May 21st for Gustavus Adolphus College. And then the appointment of Councilmember Pettis as the One Watershed, One Plan Policy Committee primary representative, and the alternate, Mayor Noel. And then Nicole Ruland as the pool manager for $15,200 per season, paid over 8 pay periods. and the schedule of disbursements from March 21st through April 4th. That's the totality of the resolution, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
With that, there is a resolution on page 32. Are there any questions or comments on that? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution approving the consent agenda.
So just the pickup truck for the fire station. Have we already purchased the one that we were using public safety dollars on, or was this supposed to be the one that we?
This is the one.
This is one that public safety.
Yeah, there's only one pickup
Okay.
purchase.
Yeah, it was just a general fund, so I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
okay.
Yep.
So noted. Resolution is on page 32. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second? Second. With that, I would ask that a roll call be called, correct?
Yep. So we'll get started here. Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramft,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Motion carries. Just a second here. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, which is the final acceptance of the 2021 North 3rd Street from St. Julian to 1,000 feet north. Public Works
Mayor Pro
Director.
Tem and City Council. This is a little different than what you've seen in the past. This is actually a 2021 project that happened up on North 3rd Street, as we call it, from St. Julian all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac in that area. We worked with Lawrence and Sons Construction to complete the project. As you remember, that project was authorized at $536,844. We completed the work at around $532,999.76, which would have left us about $13,324 that we would be paying the contractor. However, during the course of the project went on a little longer because the contractor didn't complete the work in the manner and the contract language that we had in there. So there was liquidated damages, right around $8,000 for liquidated damages. There was also damage to a couple of electric lines in that area that showed up in the meantime, and the contractor did take responsibilities for those, and we worked with the contractor to get some service lines replaced along there. The damage to the electric lines exceeded the amount that we would pay out, and so we did invoice him about $1,000, and he was willing to pay that. During the course of the project, again, as we mentioned, we did have one change order in the amount about $9,554. That was for some storm sewer improvements during the project, and we also lowered 6 water curb stops along that process. Otherwise, they would have been in the way of the curb coming through, so we had to do some rearranging there. Project has gone along satisfactory. The last remaining item was we had turf that did not establish itself in the first year, so they had to reseed and establish that turf. I'm asking you to approve the resolution on page 35 that accepts this project as complete, so we can final the paperwork.
With that, are there any questions or comments from the council for staff? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution on page 35, accepting the 2021 North 3rd Street, West St. Julian to 1,000 feet north of Center Street and McLeod Street improvements.
So moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second has been made. With that, I would like to call the roll call, please.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramft,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is new business, the hospital requested purchase.
Mayor, members, you'll find within your packet a memo from Paula Meskin, who is the hospital CEO. Paula was unable to be here tonight, so I'll cover this one. For those of you that were on the tour of the hospital, she talked to you about both a small hardware improvement, but a major software improvement related to sterilization of equipment. The purchase that's recommended by the Hospital Commission is to purchase the software and the little bit of hardware that would provide for the barcoding and the systematic measurement, collection, sanitation, and tracking of equipment through surgery processes. Again, this is recommended by the Hospital Commission. The total cost of this improvement is $156,751.79. That would be paid through hospital funds. Although I am not a doctor, I know a little bit about this. We had a good discussion at the. I did not, Brad, thank you very much, I did not. But we did have a lot of discussion about this at the Hospital Commission meeting, and certainly Paula introduced, and you saw the area and the equipment that would be included as a part of the work that would go on and the enhancement that would take place. This is a patient safety issue that's been brought forward by staff and physicians, and again, recommended by the Hospital Commission. The resolution for this one, I believe, is on page 37.
With that, are there any questions of staff on the resolution approving the purchase of hospital equipment?
I just have
Carrie?
a quick comment. So since we had adjusted the purchasing policy, I think this is the first hospital purchase in a long time that we've had to approve. So I just wanted to say as a liaison to the Hospital Commission that a purchase like this is budgeted. It goes through the Finance Committee, it goes through the Hospital Commission, and then it ends up with the council. And there's, just at the Hospital Commission meeting, we discussed the purchase, and it's just vital. It's critical to have this update. Otherwise, what does it say in the memo? We're working with paper, and it's 2024, and that's not safe for patients, and it's not efficient. So, all right, that's all. I just wanted to make a few comments on that.
Counselor, any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I would request a motion then for the resolution approving the purchase of the, how do I pronounce it? Getting T dock system for Rivers Edge Hospital and Clinic. There's a motion. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion? With that, please call the roll.
Councilmember Rampt.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the street bituminous materials purchase. Welcome back, Pete.
Pro Tem and City Council, as you remember from the budget process, the Streets Department had budgeted roughly $190,000 for asphalt. We purchase a variety of different asphalt mixes depending on what we're doing and how we're patching streets. You can kind of see in the table there how that breaks down and the relevant cost related to each type of asphalt that we purchase. Out of the $190,000 budgeted, $122,000 is from the streets budget. We have an additional $68,000 budgeted in the Parks Department for parking lot improvements at Jefferson Park. The remaining $122,000 would be done through full depth patches and repairs made to areas where we have earmarked in our budget. What it comes down to is asphalt prices were fairly close, and so as our process works, we go and pick up asphalt from each individual plant. We don't have it delivered for a price because then we'd have to coordinate with their trucking and their agencies. And we have trucks to haul this material, and so what we do is calculate what it costs us to do a round trip to each facility. And that's identified on the bottom of page 38 and the top of page 39. My ask tonight is that you approve Minnesota Paving and Materials as the primary supplier, but also authorize WW Blacktopping as the backup should we get into a situation where a plant goes down or we have a need to get mix from another place that we can't get from MPM. We would like to have that flexibility, and so what we would do is cut 2 purchase orders and then still work on the $190,000 balance. There's a resolution on page 40 that we're asking for approval.
Thank you, Pete. Is there any questions on the presentation of the resolution from any of the members? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the resolution awarding the bid for 2024 bituminous materials.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion and second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramp.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you. Next item is the Broadway Generation Plant Generator 2 repairs.
Mayor Pro Tem and City Council, again, we were talking about the Broadway facility up by the water tower. We have 6 2-megawatt generators in that facility. Unit 2 has been experiencing problems for about a year now. It's been a variety of different issues that we've experienced there. We had a turbo burn up due to excessive heat. We've had some radiator issues along the line. We kept losing coolant somewhere along the line. We couldn't figure it out. The facility is recommending a complete tear down of the facility to look for different areas. We got a purchase order process started on that line. They did complete the tear down, and they did identify that some sleeves inside the cylinders had cracks in them, so they ordered some repairs for that. The goal behind our improvements now is put everything back together, get it operational, and then get it back online for May, June, and July, and August when we start to have hot weather. As you're aware, we have a contract with our joint action agency, Southern Minnesota Municipal Power Agency, to provide that type of generation. If we do not rebuild that unit and put it to a situation where we are now, we would get degraded and our funding would be partially taken away. So our goal today would be to ask that you allow the repairs to be completed and that we put it back online. As I mentioned, this is a 20-year-old facility, so we're in the same process of where we are with other things that get this old. There's a resolution on page 42 that we would like to have authorization for.
Councilmember DeVos, you have a question?
How much does a new generator cost?
That would probably be about $2 million.
Yep, so basically we're rebuilding this one for only 120.
We haven't got prices. Right now, they've changed the models a little bit. And so you'd probably be looking at a 2.8 or something like that to try to fit in there. And when we saw the price, we kind of thought, holy cow. And then when they told us what a new one would be, we said, yeah, let's figure this out.
New tier standards are really coming into play with these, the clean diesel, the clean burning,
Yes.
DEF, and things like that. So they've gone up substantially in price. So, any other questions from the council for staff? Hearing none, there is a resolution on page 42 authorizing Broadway Generation Plant Generator number 2 repairs. With that, I would ask for a motion.
So moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Second has been made. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramp.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is the Minnesota River Access Boat Landing Agreement, page 43.
Correct. And for some of you that are on the council, this may seem like a redundant issue, and it is. The council took action, I think it was back in '22, in like October, November, to approve this agreement. In the meantime, DNR had some changes in their office and their structure up there. This agreement did not get processed. When they got to it, they had language changes within their organization that needed to be made and asked us if we would return to the city council and get those updates in here. It is basically the same agreement as we had before, but it talks a little bit in here about who's going to make the repairs and how that's going to be coordinated. That's been clarified now. And so what we'd like to do is we have damage at the bottom of the boat ramp, which we can't get to with our loaders because the damage needs to be repaired so we can get to the bottom to clean it out. If the council so chooses not to enter into this agreement, we will reach out to the DNR and see what options are available for them. If the council chooses this, then what we will do, we'll work with the DNR to make those repairs and get the sand removed.
Are there Any
Todd,
questions?
is there anything you want to add?
No, again, we don't view this as a substantial change to the agreement, and this is a heavily used amenity within your park system at the Mill Pond.
Other questions from the council for staff? Hearing no other questions, there is a resolution on
54.
page 40, what, 50?
54, I believe.
Page 54. Resolution on page 54, authorizing application for the 2024 Department of Natural Resources DNR Outdoor Recreational Grant. Is there a motion to approve said resolution?
So moved.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramp.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
With that, the motion carries. Next item.
Thank you.
Mayor, members, this item
Thank you,
starts on page 56 within your packet. It's something that you've had in place now for a couple of years, which is No Mow May. As you may recall from the first year that you did this, it was started very quickly, and it did not cover as much ground as did the program from 2023. And so the recommendation from staff is to continue to pursue the program just as you did in 2023. I think the most significant parts of this include the ability for property owners to sign up, and they receive a sign. They'd also receive a sticker for the appropriate year, and this designates their yard as being a No Mow May participant. As a part of that, there's a registration fee, which is $25, 20 of which would be refunded at the end of the program, so at the end of May, and then that would be credited back to the participating party's utility bill. Again, just as you did last year. Another significant issue, at least from my perspective, relates to the portion of the resolution that really says that we will be doing no enforcement of your lawn or weed ordinance regulations related to the residents that are participants. And that would be through May 1st. And then if residents do not come into compliance, we'd start enforcement at those properties on June 12th if necessary. Again, very similar to what you saw in the 2023 year. You have signs, you have standards, you have the stickers. You're all set to go other than approving the resolution, providing some additional promotion of this opportunity for property owners to participate in No Mow May, and then letting them put their signs out there in the follow-up.
Questions or comments of staff? Hearing none, there is a resolution on page 58 establishing No Mow May program. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion is second, please read the roll call.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramp.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is a license on page 60.
Mayor Pro Tem and members, the information is included in your packet on page 60 with a resolution to follow on page 61. This is for a 3-2 beer on sale license for the St. Peter Girls Fast Pitch Association, which would be at Jefferson Fields, which is 1401 Nicollet Avenue, for this summer through the end of June of 2024. As you know, renewals come on your consent agenda. This is a new organization with a new request, and so they are handled as a separate agenda item. And again, that information is included in your packet.
Any questions or comments from staff on this resolution? Hearing none, there is a resolution on page 61, a resolution approving new 3-2 on sale beer license. Is there a motion approving that resolution?
So moved.
Is there a motion, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion is second, please call the roll.
Councilmember Ramp.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is reports, I believe.
Reports. So mayor's report, then council members' report, then city administrator's report.
I would like to give a mayor's report. No, I'm not the mayor. At this time, I would like to recognize City Council Member Carrie Johnson for receiving the 2024 Women Celebrating Women Award. Carrie was recognized for leadership in the community. I would like to congratulate Carrie for this award and like to add, nicely done. Nicely done, Carrie. Thank you.
That's an honor.
That concludes my report.
All right.
Council members, anything to report on? No takers? City administrator, your turn.
I don't have any, but I'm going to ask Pete to come forward and just talk about a couple projects that are going on that most people may be seeing or be more recognizable within the community. So Pete, I'd turn it over to you for a few moments.
So as many of you have seen along Pine Street, construction began this morning on that. I got to give those guys credit. They were out there rain and shine and getting some things done down there. So we'll have a few bumps to work out, some few traffic issues to deal with there, but we anticipate a good project. We've had a lot of cooperation from the homeowners down there, and that's very much appreciated. Also hydrant flushing. With any luck, we will get done tonight with hydrant flushing. There's 4 individuals that have committed a lot of time to this. Terry Cam, he's our operator up at the Broadway plant. Jim Gruhat, Kyle Blaschko, and Carson Kennedy. Those guys have been out there from midnight to 6 flushing hydrants. We just haven't had any complaints or concerns, and so we're crossing our fingers tonight it'll go smooth. They're out at the state hospital tonight, so it'll be a little spooky for them, but they'll get by. Also recognize Chris Volz and Curtis Thompson, who put together the flushing plan and made sure that the guys had the necessary resources to make things happen. Did I miss anything, Todd?
Pete, give me 2 lines on what are we flushing hydrants for? What's the purpose of that?
Well, we want to turn the water over in our system. We did flush last fall. We just flushed dead ends last fall, or mains that didn't have a lot of use on them, to get into winter. And now that we're getting into the high usage part of the year, we want to clean the system out. We do it for a couple different reasons. One is to check our system. Make sure there's no leaks, obviously. Check service lines. We'll have a leak detection program come in and do our mains and service lines after we're done flushing, probably the first part of next week. And 3 is to look at the hydrants that we operate so the fire department can go out and serve the public if in need we have a fire.
Thank you, Pete.
Yep. Yep, thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, that's all the reports that I have for you this evening.
Hearing none and our agenda being done, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second to that motion? Second. Motion and second had, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You made it through your first meeting?